Hi, we're back again, and it is a beautiful day here in Tennessee. It is in the 80s and sunshiny and just gorgeous. Just beautiful weather. Wow, so exciting. Okay, so Buddy, Chapter 5, and here we go. I think I'll read the last paragraph for Chapter 4. Yep, Grandpa T nods his head. Then he slaps me on the back and starts tee-heeing. So, I guess you must be about the happiest boy in the world, he says. Because there's one thing I can tell you for sure. A dog is way better than a chicken. Chapter 5. But I ain't happy because Buddy ain't happy. And it don't seem like anything I do makes him happy. When Daddy gets home from work that night, he comes around back and has a look at the sign nailed up on the shed, and at Buddy laying there on the blanket, and at me sitting there rubbing Buddy's side. Has he moved yet? He asks, and I shake my head. Then he goes to sit on the front porch with Grandpa T, and they drink beer. Mama comes out and tells me I need to come inside and do my homework. I say I'm busy with Buddy. She say when Jamila was here she could count on me to get it done before dark. I say she can count on me by myself now, and besides, I don't have any. Mama says, huh, and looks down at Buddy. That dog's fur looks like a rat's nest, she says, and then goes back inside. I rub Buddy's head all up under his collar, and he don't move. Not even the tip of his tail. I tell him stories until he's asleep. Then I go to sit out front with Grandpa T and Daddy. Everybody's outside taking in the cool of the evening and talking back and forth from their porches. They're talking about work and ball games and how those boys down the street finally crossed the line and got what they deserved. And whether Brother James is going to preach one of those empty your pockets sermons again for old lady Jenkins who just broke her hip. And then one of the neighbors sings out, "Hey, Lil T, where's that ugly old three-legged dog?" And everybody laughs like it's funny or something. The next day when I get home from school, I get an old brush out of the bottom drawer in the bathroom, and I go to work on him. He lays real still, and I start at his head. I can't get that fur around his caterpillar scar to lay straight, but the fur on his neck lays down softer and softer the more I brush it. I work the brush up under the collar a little, and Buddy stretches back his head so I can get away up under his chin. "You like that?" I say, and I swear he smiles. Up under his stomach, some little wads of fur are still hanging on. I get Mama's sewing scissors and start cutting them out. Buddy half sits up and tries to watch. "You can't see with that collar," I say, "and anyway, you got to lay down." He eases back down, and I start brushing again. He's watching my face, and I'm talking to him. "You think I'm crazy?" I'm saying. "Giving a dog a haircut? Brushing him with a hairbrush?" When I run that brush over his sides, I feel the ribs. Bumpity-bump. And Buddy's eyes start drooping shut. "You got to eat up, Buddy," I say. "We got to make you fat. You got to get strong." Then I start to brush near his cut-off leg, and he lifts his head up sharp and makes a low, deep sound in his throat. I stop right there. "Did you growl at me?" I just sit there for a minute and look at him. He looks right back like he knows he's crippled now, and it hurts, and he feels like a fool with that great big collar going around his head. Then he lays his head back down, and I reach out to rub his nose, but he turns his face away. I go back to brushing his neck. I don't know what else to do. That's all right, I say. We can just wait on that. There ain't no hurry. You ain't heading for a beauty contest. Well, that's a good thing. I turn around and there's Grandpa T standing in the doorway again. He sure ain't winning a beauty contest. He's ugly as sin. He's beautiful, Grandpa T. You're just blind. Maybe, Grandpa T says and eases on in. But could be you're too crazy in love to see how ugly he is. Buddy don't think I'm crazy. He's glad he's living here with somebody who'll brush his fur and fill up his bowl. I don't tell Grandpa T, but I ain't sure that's true. Grandpa T, I say, why do you think he won't stand up? He's only got 3 legs, you fool, Grandpa T says. What would you do if you only had one? That vet says he ought to be getting up any day. Grandpa T squats down by Buddy. Buddy moves his head just barely enough to see Grandpa T. He don't bother to lift it up. Grandpa T lays his hand on the top of Buddy's head and stretches Buddy's eyes way open. That caterpillar eyebrow wiggles up Buddy's forehead, and Buddy looks straight up at Grandpa T. His eyes are so dark, so brown, so soft looking. Grandpa T lets go, and the eyebrow slides back down. Buddy closes his eyes again, and I swear he heaves a sigh. I think he likes you, I say. He likes anybody who'll be nice to him, Grandpa T says, and he rubs his finger on the caterpillar scar. He's lucky he ain't blind. What do you think he thinks, I say, waking up and there ain't no leg where there used to be one? Grandpa T shrugs. Do you think he's scared? Are you scared, Buddy? Grandpa T says, almost like he's talking to baby Terrell. Buddy opens his eyes. What are you scared of? Grandpa T says. You got little T now. You got this fancy shed to live in. You're laying on one of my old blankets. Buddy lifts up his head. You're ugly as sin, Grandpa T says, goes on. You're ugly as sin and you stink. Buddy's ears are standing up. His mouth pops open. He starts going, Why don't you stand up, dog? Grandpa T says. Come on, get up. Buddy's tail is swishing back and forth on the floor. He looks from Grandpa T to me and back up again. Grandpa T stands up. Come on, get up. Buddy raises himself up on his front feet. Ain't it time, Grandpa T says. Ain't you strong enough? Buddy's whining and whimpering. His mouth looks like he's trying to smile, but he can't quite do it. Come on, dog. Grandpa T is moving toward the door. Don't you want to see what's going on out here? Buddy stretches his feet out like he's trying to drag himself to Grandpa T. Rip, Buddy says. Rip, rip. Come on, Buddy. Come on, boy. Grandpa T's standing at the door. He's holding one hand out to Buddy and waving the other one out the door. And then Buddy lets out a little moaning sound, and he lays back down, and he turns his head toward the wall, and he rests his nose on his paws. When we take him to the vet for his checkup, the vet says his cut has pretty much healed, and he takes off that collar. I'm standing there rubbing Buddy's neck, feeling all the way down to the skin where the old collar's been wrapped around him. Buddy is half sitting up with his tongue hanging out of his mouth and looking like he remembers everything about this place, especially that old cage and how he woke up without one of his legs. Then the vet asks how he's doing about getting around. I can't even look at the vet. He ain't stood up yet, I say. Not at all, the vet says. Not where I saw him. The vet gives Buddy a hard look. He feels all around under Buddy's belly. Buddy gives him a look like if he does that too much more, Buddy might... Buddy gives him a look like if he does that too much more, Buddy just might take out a little piece of his hand. Then the vet gives him a little whomp on the behind and said, There's nothing wrong with him. It's time for him to get up, even if you have to force him. When we get home, Daddy says this is the last time he's carrying Buddy. He puts him down on the blanket and leaves out. Buddy lays there like he ain't never going to move again. What's wrong, Buddy? I say, why ain't you happy here? Grandpa T is standing there in the door looking in. He's old, Grandpa T says. Maybe he's just too tired. Maybe he's been knocked down so many times, he just ain't got the heart to get up anymore. So you're saying he wants to die? Oh, no, he's a dog. He don't want to die. I'm just saying maybe he's too tired to live. Look at his eyes. You ever seen any eyes look tireder than that? I look at Buddy's eyes. They look big and sad and tired. But they don't look that tired. Grandpa T, I say, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. That's the craziest, stupidest, wrongest, dumbest thing I ever heard in my entire life. Probably so, Grandpa T says. Ain't the first time I said something dumb. He gives Buddy a good hard look and then looks at me. Your mama's cooking red beans, he says. Don't stay out here too long. Then he turns around and heads on inside. He's crazy, ain't he, Buddy? He's crazy and stupid and dumb. I'm rubbing the place that collar used to be. Buddy's laying still as a stone and breathing soft and low. Right, Buddy? I say. But Buddy don't say nothing. That's the end of chapter 5. If you want to, you can pause here and then just take a break. If you don't want to, you can go on with me to chapter 6. Here we go. Tanya wakes me up that night screaming. Grandpa T's banging the door downstairs and cussing, and Mama comes whipping into the room like her hair's on fire, and baby Terrell starts up in his crib, and Tanya's sitting up in the bed next to mine screaming. What's wrong? Mama yells, and then Tanya stops, and I can hear the rain coming down like a waterfall on the porch roof outside the window. I had a dream, she says, and Buddy died. That dog? Mama says and rolls her eyes. She reaches around Tanya and hugs her up, and Tanya's kind of crying a little, and Daddy comes limping into the room carrying baby Terrell. What's wrong? He says. Bad dream, I say, and the thunder rolls. Daddy sits down on my bed holding baby Terrell, who's smelling like a wet diaper. I think I broke my toe, Daddy says. And then Grandpa T hustles in the door and says, What the blue blazes is going on? Bad dream, I say again. Grandpa T looks over at Tanya. The way Tanya's hair is standing out all over her head, she sure looks like she had a bad dream. What were you dreaming about? He said. Tanya's digging her fists in her eyes, and Mama's rubbing her back, and then Tanya hiccups and she says, Buddy, we're all tearing up around the house in the dark because you're dreaming about that dog, Grandpa T says. Tanya nods. He died, she says, and the lightning flashes all over the room. In your dream, I say. For true, she says, and looks at me with her great big old wet eyes. Then they start overflowing again. He could never stand up, so he died, she says. And he grew angel wings and flew up, and we were all standing on the ground watching. That ain't scary, I say, looking out the window toward where the shed is. I ain't finished, she says. And then a hand came out of the sky, a giant hand, and it snatched him up and whisked him off into the clouds. Mama hugs Tanya up so tight, Tanya says, "Oh, that's the hand of God," Mama says. "He took Buddy to dog heaven." Tanya's tears are starting up again. "But the hand was scary," she says, "and now Buddy's gone." "It was a dream," Daddy says. "Buddy's sleeping in the shed." Daddy looks out the window. He's in a dry place for a change. He's a happy dog tonight. "He's dead," Tanya said. "He's gone, gone, gone." She's looking down at her hands now, and the tears are just rolling down her face. "That's foolishness," Grandpa T said. "You need to be quiet now so your daddy can sleep. He's got to work in the morning. T. Junior, go change that baby's diaper and put him back in the bed. Everybody, go back to sleep." Mama kisses up Tanya real good and pulls the covers up to her chin. She walks out the door and flips off the light. Me and Tanya are laying there in the dark, listening to the rain and watching the lightning on the wall. I'm thinking about Buddy laying in the dark outside. That shed's dry, but it's got a tin roof, and when it rains, it's so noisy you can't hardly hear the thunder. "He didn't never stand up?" I say real quiet. "No," Tanya says, "and then a big hand came." "Do you think Buddy could die from laying down?" "He already did, and he grew angel wings." "He ain't dead." "I saw it. I didn't tell that part. He lay down on his side, and he closed his eyes, and he was still all over. And then his whole body started to twinkling like a Holy Spirit was in it. And then, boom, he was on his feet, and he had angel wings." "You dreamed it." "I saw it. He's dead." I sit up in my bed. "You're just a baby. You can't tell the difference between true and dreaming. You dreamed he's dead." "I saw it with my own eyes." Daddy busts open the door. "Y'all be quiet. We're trying to go to sleep now." She says, "Be quiet. I mean it." Daddy slams the door. The dark fills up the room. I hear Tanya breathing all jaggedy next to me. In my mind, I see Buddy laying on that green army blanket. He's got it all pushed into bumps and hills. He's got his nose resting on his front feet. His sides are going in and out with breathing. And then in my mind, his sides stop going. Everything freezes up. There ain't no twinkling. He turns to stone. And then he's gone. In the morning, it's still raining so hard Daddy can't go to work. The TV says schools are closed. They got flooding up to Claiborne Avenue, and the street out in front of the house is a river. I dress and I find an umbrella while Mama is still looking at the refrigerator for baby Terrell's bottle. Daddy says to go see if we got a paper, but I ain't listening. I'm out the back door and splashing through the puddle at the foot of the steps. I'm standing at the shed where that sign says Buddy's house, like it's so proud or something. And then I'm opening the door. And there's Buddy, standing up on 3 legs. He's standing there all by himself with his white foot in his water bowl and that old blanket all gathered up under his feet and his tail just going. That caterpillar eyebrows cocked to one side and he's grinning straight at me. "Roof," Buddy says. I scream, and Tanya comes running outside holding her doll by the hair and splashing through the rain. "He's dead!" she's yelling. "I saw it! He's dead!" "He ain't dead," I say. "He's alive and he's standing up!" Then we're both standing there looking at Buddy. "Roof," Buddy says. "Roof, roof." His ears are standing up on his head, and he's grinning like he's prouder of himself than he's ever been in his life. "But there ain't no wings," Tanya says. Mama, come see!" And here comes Mama right through the rain with the baby on her hip and a dish rag in her hand, and she says, "Well, I'll be." And by the time Daddy and Grandpa T get outside, Buddy's starting to walk. He hops and steps and hops and steps, and then he's standing right in front of me. He reaches up his nose and pokes it in my stomach, and it tickles, and I laugh and I sing out, "Hallelujah!" And then I get down on my hands and knees. I hug him around the neck. His fur is warm and soft, and he's smelling like those old wet leaves again. He's shaking all over, and his tail is whapping against that torn-up screen prop beside the door. I lean back, and I look in his eyes. "You're my Buddy," I say, and he's licking my nose and my mouth and my eyes and going, "Woof, woof," in my ear, and I'm laughing so hard I fall backwards into the rain, and I look up at the sky, and I swear I see that old sun just starting to break through. And that's the end of chapter 6. May the Lord bless and keep you. May He make His face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift His countenance upon you and give you peace, and give you peace. Until next time, have a good day, good night, good evening, wherever you are. God bless.